What is one of the creepiest things you have witnessed a girlfriend/boyfriend has done? He stalked me for more than 2 years because Jesus told him he needed to save me. Restraining orders do not work on crazy. I dated this real winner once. When I met him he lived in a house, had a job, and just seemed to be a stoner. By the end of our relationship, he was jobless, homeless, and had gone to jail for my honor or some creepy crap like that. He beat his roommate up with a lead pipe because he thought the guy had the hots for me or something. Totally unfounded. Anyways, the real creepy part comes after he got out of jail. He still thought we were together, and would go camp out in my backyard when I wasn't home and sleep there. As in, he would pester my roommates into letting him into the backyard and sleep there. You had bad roommates. So, you're asking me if any of my old girlfriends have ever rubbed my jizz on a page of their scrapbook that they may preserve my essence for posterity? Nope, can't say that they have. And not to mention being told about said jizz scrapbook by her parents. I dated this girl for a couple weeks and it wasn't working out. Just too different. I broke it off with her and she was cool with it. Ran into her and her parents at the local bowling alley and we all bowled together for a couple of hours. She started getting close to me like she wanted to get back together, but I told her no. So she walks up to her mother and tells her I tried to rape her. Mum looks at me, looks at her and slapped her. Not hard, but fairly solidly, and tells her they are not going through all that balls again. Thankfully her parents knew she was nuts and had played the rape card before on some other guy. Her mom helped you avoid some serious crap that day. After my ex and I broke up, I started dating another girl. My ex became jealous to the point of madness. I've got a lot of stories about what she did, but the best one was this. She kept stalking my girlfriend on IM, and my girlfriend played along because she thought it was funny. One day, on my ex's birthday, my girlfriend got a message saying, "It's my birthday and I want to see my man, so I'm coming to your city. I live 2.5 hours away from my ex." We laugh it off and a few hours later I'm taking out the trash when I see my ex's car roll through the parking lot. I kinda freak out and run upstairs to tell the girlfriend. We go back down and the car's gone. She convinces me it wasn't really my ex. It was just another similar car, because after all, who in their right mind would actually drive 2.5 hours to do that? A few hours later, my girlfriend gets an email from the ex saying she came up to see me, saw me carrying the trash down the stairs, said I looked so sexy in my black shirt and jeans, describing what I was wearing, but that when she caught sight of me she lost the courage and drove the 2.5 hours back home. Frick. I like how guys in these stories freak the frick out and run for their lives. I've done the same. I had a boyfriend who would call me drunk and mutter nasties in my ear while holding normal conversation. It would go a little like this. "Hey baby, how was your night? Oh, you know I went to Brad's. Pant. Frick yeah. And we drank a couple beers with. You like it in the butt?" I later found out he wasn't masturbating and was actually having sex with another girl and somehow got off on cheating on me. Bro, that's just, bro, sorry. One of my ex-girlfriends kept a logbook of every single text message I ever sent her. Not just the meaningful ones, but incredibly inane ones too. A whole book full of handwritten and dated notes like "Okay, I'm on my way." It's weird. I tried to break up with this girl once and she started shrieking. Then she pulled her fridge away from the wall, crawled behind the fridge, and loudly sobbed from behind it while I called my mom and waited for her to pick me up. I was 15. Faked a pregnancy and told me she told her parents. She said her parents would tell my parents if I didn't do it first. I get that pit in my stomach just thinking about this again. We were both 16. I worried heavily for 2 weeks before getting the courage to tell them. Thankfully she stopped me just in time to let me in on her lol joke. I didn't date for 4 years after that. If you're reading this, Megan G, frick you. Yeah, frick you Megan. Dated this guy for maybe 3 weeks. He ended up carving my name into his leg, then searing the skin so he'd have the scar forever. I broke up with him that very minute. Freaking crazy. I hear he's a dealer now. Awesome. We were on Skype one night and I wanted to go to bed. This had apparently meant that I was going to cheat on her or some crap. I don't know, the B was crazy. Anyway, she yells a little, then grabs a knife and starts shrieking while rocking back and forth, cutting herself on webcam while crying. TLDR. I stuck my dong into another dimension. Upvote for your TLDR, as that crap is funny as all heck. Not a boyfriend but some guy saying he loves me and he's going to kill himself if I leave him after 2 dates. Also, in high school my friend was dating this creepy girl who would fake passing out from taking Advil for attention, sat there continuously taking pictures of him, called him 7 times in 5 minutes when he didn't answer, just all around creepy annoying behavior. He broke up with her at my house then left. I was pee about that. So I'm sitting in my room with her watching Beetlejuice and she gets this really creepy look on her face and says I'm not going to let him break up with me. It's just not going to happen. And basically just went on a long monotone rant like that with the creepiest expression ever on her face until I was like, oh crap, I totally have something to do and sped to drive her home. One of my exes posted a sex ad for both of us on Craigslist and didn't tell me until he was in the process of setting a 3-way encounter up as a surprise. Thought I'd be happy. I wasn't. In high school I used to occasionally sneak out to go to parties and such at night. My bedroom was on the 2nd story but there was a roof for over the porch under my window and from there it was easy to scale the lattice onto the deck. Anyway, I showed my brilliant maneuver to my boyfriend of like 2 weeks and thought nothing of it. About a week later he commented that I looked beautiful when I slept. I asked him how he knew. He revealed that for the past few nights he had been coming over to see me as a surprise, but he never had the courage to rap on the window. So instead he was just watching me sleep like something straight out of freaking Twilight. Except I had the sense to be bothered by it. Asked him to stop. We broke up shortly after this. Then my guy friend approached me. Hey, you need to see something. Turns out creepy boyfriend liked to watch me when I was awake too. Specifically when I was masturbating, changing, or otherwise naked. And I'm naked a lot. There were 5 or 6 pictures that he sent to his guy friends of me doing all this that he had taken from my freaking window. He sent them around as retaliation for our breakup. I got the friend to forward me the pics and we had a restraining order put on him. But it was still scary. Did I mention I was 15 and he was 18? Not cool. This is a terrifying post to me, seeing as I'm wondering if I've dated this same person. OP, what is her first name? Only, and what state is she in? Also, what country does she claim to come from? If you think that is too much information, that's fine, but this is making me worry. Just PM the guy. Finally, a place to share this with the world. An ex of mine used to scratch the dandruff off his head over a folder then pour it into a baby jar, thus saving it. He would collect enough then eat it. This is happening right now. Not an ex. In fact we never dated, or even met for that matter. I met this girl online who seemed pretty cool and who looked cute from a few pictures she sent me. We started to talk and exchanged phone numbers to text each other. After 3 days of texting me constantly, making hints about settling down and freaking out when I didn't text back within 2 minutes, I was desperately looking for an out. She presented the perfect opportunity. I didn't respond to her text immediately one night, so she freaked out and told me that it's over. What's over? And not to contact her anymore. I obliged. She has now been calling my phone at least 10 times a day and leaving me all sorts of desperate texts ranging from I hate you to I need you in my life to I'm going to kill myself. I spoke to her for roughly 5 days. We never saw each other or heard each other's voice. The kicker is that I had mentioned I wasn't into clinginess when we first met and she was acting normal when the topic of what we look for in a soap came up. Dude, just block her number on internet. It's obvious there's no normal talking in this one. I once had a girl who liked me take me for a ride through hilly, curvy country roads, taking 20 miles per hour turns at 60, laughing hysterically saying, ha 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 I'm crazy while blaring fast-paced dubstep. She was offended when I grabbed the oh crap handles. For us English aristocrats, I leave you this 20 miles per hour, 53,760.0 furlongs fortnight. Pip pip cheerio chaps. I had an ex that would stare at the bedroom door for at least 5 minutes every night before we went to sleep. She would stand right in front of it. I asked her what she was doing and she said, "Oh, sorry, just making sure it was locked." Creepy part, she never touched it, just stared. Clearly, she was putting a ward on the door. I was studying for my law exams on year, and my BF, now ex, kept calling and texting, even though I was busy, and had told him I was studying. I went to bed, only to be woken in the early hours by my ex scratching the fly screen of my window and whispering my name. He drove 40 minutes to my house because he thought I was trying to dump him by not answering my phone. I told him to go home, and we broke up not long after. He thought I was trying to dump him. Nice example of self-fulfilling prophecy. My ex-girlfriend broke up with me one night. She was an extremely dramatic girl and I was more or less done with the whole thing, so needless to say, I wasn't too busted up about it and didn't put up much of a fight. That night I went out drinking with some of my buddies and she kept calling and texting me incessantly. I ignored her. Eventually I went home and went to bed. The next day was Memorial Day and I was supposed to meet a friend of mine up at his lake house. I was crashing on another buddy's floor for the summer and he woke up early to go play golf. He lived in a pretty upscale gated apartment community with security. Unfortunately, he forgot to lock the front door and that's how I ended up waking up to my ex-girl standing over me bawling her eyes out that morning. TLDR. Girlfriend broke up with me and then decided to circumvent me, ignoring her by breaking into where I was staying while I was asleep. Fixed the grammatical error. Thanks Reddit for keeping me on my toes. I caught my ex hyperventilating into a pair of my soiled boxer briefs when she thought she was alone. It was creepy at the time but it led to some great kinky sex later on. Define soiled. An ex-BF of mine told me he made a pillow torso of me, with boobs and all, and would frick it like he was fricking me. He started this 3 years before we started dating and told me 5 months into our relationship. Broke up a month later, and it still creeps me out. I had a girl I was dating one time out of the blue tell me, "I've been talking to God about you, and he told me you have your heart closed to him." I said, quote, Don't talk with God about me." The funny thing is it turned out she was super religious and I didn't know it, and also a virgin. When we eventually had sex the first time oral, she had a massive orgasm and immediately started crying. She said through tears and sobs, "I'm going to heck now." I could feel my soul leaving my body. I mentally high-fived myself. I just went down on a chick so thoroughly, she thought I licked her soul out of her snatch. But going to heck was apparently a big deal to her, so she insisted we not do anything like that again. 2 weeks later we were making out and she out of the blue wanted to go all the way and lose her virginity. I'm not an idiot, so I didn't raise any philosophical questions about what had changed. I was also 18 years old, so I didn't think of any. After we were done, I couldn't hold back any longer and said, "What happened to not wanting to go to heck?" She said, "Oh, I talked to God and he said sexual pleasure was his gift to people because he loves us." That was the moment I realized how fluid people's firmest religious convictions are. They are 100% certain they know God's mind, until it conflicts with something they want to do. Then they're 100% certain God wants them to do that. Thanks God, I owe you one, buddy. TLDR. One time in college God was my wingman and got me laid. I mentally high-fived myself. I just went down on a chick so thoroughly, she thought I licked her soul out of her snatch. That was an amazing sentence. My entire last relationship was with a pathological liar. She claimed a lot of things that were untrue. One of the creepiest things she did was she would black out and forget who she was, or she would be aware of who she was supposed to be, but she would be someone else. One time she woke me up halfway through the night because she was afraid of monsters in the closet or something. I tried talking her back to sleep but she apparently was only 5 years old in her head. I found this out when I tried to kiss her and she said something to the effect of, "You cooties, gross." Wasn't a girlfriend but the first girl I ever kissed started cutting herself and showing me at school. She told me that she'd kill herself if I didn't become her boyfriend. Thanks for finishing the story. Nobody is going to ask what you did about it and what happened with her. My soon-to-be ex-wife would use the caps lock button to capitalize any word needed instead of just holding down shift. A lifetime of extra strikes to the keyboard for no reason. It was such a waste and I'd had enough. You're a strong man for tolerating that for so long. My heart goes out to you, my fellow man. Me and the girl I was seeing broke it off with each other. A few weeks later we got to talking. Since we worked side by side and decided to give it another shot, we ended up spending the night together and having sex without a condom. This normally wouldn't be a problem since she was always on the pill. I happen to remember her mentioning that she might just stop taking the pill though, but I figured she would have told me. Just to be safe, I decide to pull out when I'm approaching orgasm. As soon as I came, she started crying, admitting that she hoped I had forgotten that she stopped taking the pill and that I would have came inside of her. I noped my way out of that relationship. I have dated a few crazies and now have a kind of way to tell who is nuts and who isn't, and it's really simple. When joking around with them, say something like, "Oh man, you're crazy." Like if they do something silly, normally girls will laugh it off or joke right back. Crazy girls will deny that they are crazy and be all, "Don't call me crazy," because chances are some guy in the past has called them crazy for good reason and they think you won't find out. It is very telling how they answer that simple, seemingly innocent question. It's so simple it's almost crazy that it works. Fassapam, my crazy ex was like that. Frick me for not picking up on it. I had a long, horrible on again off again with a girl in high school. I'm B. Anyways, after about a year and a half, I started to get feelings for this really awesome guy that I knew, and I decided that this was not one that I wanted to let get away. We were not together but we were still talking, so one morning I called her and told her that we needed to stop because I was freaking miserable. She howled and bitched and pleaded, and I was so sick of it all that I resorted to telling her that I wanted to be with this guy. I turned off my phone and hung out with him for most of the day. In late afternoon, we were in his room with all the lights off, watching a movie, and things were about to get real. A knock came on his door and his dad said we had a visitor. We looked at each other like, what the frick, and headed downstairs to find my ex-girlfriend fuming in the front hallway. She'd somehow found out where he lived and came looking for me. She started screaming at the top of her lungs and telling him, "Oh, she only hangs out with you because she likes you, duh," and other such nonsense. So I picked her up, dragged her outside and stuffed her into her car. I couldn't get her to leave without going with her, so I told the guy that I'd call him later. Needless to say, things didn't work out with either of them. Turns out I dodged a bullet though, because the guy revealed later that he'd planned to have me star in a snuff film. Fake, of course, I hope. TLDR. Psycho ex-girlfriend finds house and has a tantrum at New Flames place. Okay, I have one. This girl and I had been seeing each other for a couple of months. Apparently there was a condom mishap, so she ended up pregnant. I wasn't keen on the idea, but she wanted it, so I was being supportive. Still, she had a miscarriage. This girl apparently kept the rejected fetus in a jar. It was the most awkward phone conversation I've ever had. She might have been off of her meds or on them or something, but up until that point she'd seemed perfectly normal. When I broke up with my first girlfriend, she seemed fine at first until I got a text saying be outside your house at 9. I figured it would just be her wanting to talk, but it was actually her and at least 20 of her friends. They were all pretty pee at me, so out of fear of getting jumped I just told her what she wanted to hear so that she would leave. She later threatened to become lesbian, as if that would make me take her back or kill herself. Her desperate pleas to get back together reached a peak when she called months after we broke up, at 3 AM, puking. She said she wanted to show me how upset I was making her. She was literally throwing up and holding the phone by her mouth so that I could hear it. Not a boyfriend, but a guy I decided to have a one-nighter with because I was frisky. I made it very clear that it was just sex, giving him the opportunity to walk away if he wasn't cool with that. A month previous to this, the local paper had run a piece on me, and unbeknownst to me, weird chap contacted the paper, got a copy of the photograph they published of me, got into my house through an open window and left the photo of myself on my mantelpiece. I think he also masturbated onto my new duvet. I saw him on the street a few days later and told him I wasn't impressed with the break-in and to leave me alone. He then published a blog which was full of poems and pictures of my head shopped onto latex-clad women, Xenia warrior princess, and, I kid you not, a montage of me as Elizabeth I. It would have been hilarious were he not so earnest. Anyway, he's dead now. I had a terrible crush on a girl I knew in high school, but it never worked out. When I graduated, I moved very far away for a summer job that led to a pretty interesting, year-long adventure that caused me to put off college for a year. A few months before I was supposed to head back for college, this girl calls me out of the blue. We'd been close friends, so it wasn't that creepy, and starts hinting that she'd like to pursue something romantic. Thumbs up, says me. Fast forward about 8 months of distance relationship. We went to different colleges. We break up. More accurately, she dumps me after we had sex for the first time. First time ever for her. I'm crushed. She wants to stay close and I, naively, agree. A few months later she visits again, staying with me and attending a party thrown by a friend. As often happens with exes who stay friends, we get a little tipsy and hook up. Next morning, no big deal. We hang out, run some errands. She goes home. 2 days later, I get a phone call from her. She's in a rage, claiming rape and tells me never to contact her again. Later she writes me the cruelest email I've ever received, accusing me of terrible brutalities. I was crushed, but finally got the picture that something was very off. Lesson learned. Post terrible email. Do it. I was dating this girl for a short time. She spent the night a few times and one morning we woke up and she took a shower. When she was done, I went in there and saw 2-3-inch poop inside of my shower. I asked her WTF, why is there poop in my shower, and she said OHH. I was like tired, so I was sitting down in there for a minute. I didn't think I don't know where that came from. For the rest of the time dating, she never took responsibility for that poop, always claiming she didn't remember anything coming out. Me and my girlfriend have been dating for about 3 months, and as it turns out we have both creeped on each other pretty hard. We first met when I was a sales clerk at a bookstore. She would come in every other day to buy something and spend 10+ minutes talking to me about this and that. Creepiness on my end. Whenever someone buys something with a debit card, I can see their name on the receipt, as well as the card. I was dying for her to buy something with a debit card so I could find out her name and look her up on Facebook. Creepiness on her end. When we eventually traded names and numbers, turns out she shut her Facebook down as she had recently lost a lot of weight and was waiting for good spring break pictures to put it back up. I put her down in my phone and texted her later. Her reaction to getting my number was to create a fake Facebook account merely for the purpose of creeping on my profile. We continue to creep on each other very strongly and have an absolutely great relationship. A friend of mine was hooking up with this girl, probably about for a week. He finished his business, 2 off the condom, and went to the bathroom to wash up. When he came back, he found that the girl had semen all over her thighs and vagina. He was suspicious something was going on, and later texted her about it. He accused her of rubbing his jizz around her area and she denied it at first, but caved in after declaring that she wanted him to stay with her. She declared she was pregnant and they were going to get married. That's when he stopped answering her. She showed up at his house with her mother, banging on his door to yell at him or something like that, while he was at another house. His dad sent the crazy bee away. She continued texting him, with the following texts. B. Mike. B. Mike baby please answer me. B. Mike if I'm pregnant you're taking care of me right? B. Mike. B. I'll cut your freaking dong off. B. Mike. TL. DR. C rub CMNC. Upvote for awesome alliteration on the TL. DR. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.